Hi everyone, this is William from the Headphone Experience. I'm here tonight with my full review of the iFi Audio Pro Idsd Signature version. And I'm really sorry that it's taken me so long to get to this. It's been about, probably 4 or 5 months since I did my first impressions, and finally got some time in the last month to catch up on my reviews. And to be honest, I've just been using this so often with so much other equipment that I kind of saved it for last because of that reason. Because as much as I would love to buy this and be able to hang on to it, that's probably just not in my budget, not going to happen. So anyway, so my apologies to both my viewers and to iFi Audio for taking so long with this. This was loaned to me by iFi Audio for review, and it currently sells through iFi Audio for $3,249. I realize it's not cheap, but this is a headphone amp, DAC, and streamer all in one. You have a choice of using this in 3 different modes, either entirely solid state, in tube mode, or what's called tube plus mode. And this is the amp part of this is a fully balanced Class A amp. The amp has 3 different gain settings to choose from. It has a quad stack of Burr Brown DAC chips. It can upsample to DSD all the way up to 1024. And it uses 2 GE 5670 tubes, and when I show it to you, I'll show you, the tubes aren't external, they're inside, but there is a little window where you can sort of look at them and you can see the glow of the tubes coming out. Anyways, it has a Alps motorized potentiometer, and so it will actually, you can change the volume from a remote control, which it does come with. It has all the inputs are fully galvanically isolated. It accepts signals of PCM, DSD, or MQA. It has 7 digital inputs. It has 3 gain settings, which I mentioned. They are of either 0, 9, or 18 decibels of gain. It's capable of putting out 4.2 watts per channel into 16 ohms. It has 5 different choices for your digital roll-off filters, and your choices are Bit Perfect, Bit Perfect Plus, Gibbs Transient, Optimized, appendant, I can't read my own notes, appendizing, I think is how it's pronounced, and transient aligned. Sorry about that. Anyway, the size of it is 8.4 inches wide by 8.7 inches deep by 2.5 inches tall, so it's really not a real big unit. It's actually perfect for desktop use. It weighs in at 4.4 pounds, which isn't heavy, but it feels really solid. Like I said, it's not huge, so 4.4 pounds is actually pretty substantial for this size. It feels like it's got some substance to it. It has 3 headphone jacks on it, which are 6.3 millimeter single-ended, 3.5 millimeter single-ended, and a 4.4 millimeter balanced output. That's a 4.4 millimeter Pentacon, which I think the earlier non-signature version only had a 2.5 millimeter balanced, and I'm happy that they switched it because I don't have a 2.5 millimeter balanced cable, so I was able to use a balanced output of this with all my headphones. It has 2 analog outputs on the back, RCA single-ended and XLR balanced. It comes with iFi's top-of-the-line power supply. Give you a look at it here. It's called the iPower Elite, And I think this, if you buy this individually, I think this is like about a $300 power supply, and it's supposed to lower the background noise quite a bit. I forgot how many decibels, but it's supposed to be the quietest power supply that Wi-Fi makes. It also comes with a remote control, if I can find it. Yeah, this is the one. It comes with a remote control that you can do pretty much everything with it. You can adjust the volume up and down. You can switch inputs. You can adjust the display on the front. There's like 4 different brightness settings, or you can turn it off completely. You can go through the 5 digital filters. You can go through the 3 choices for upsampling, which is either off or DSD 512 or DSD 1024. And you can pretty much do everything with this. And what's cool is when you do the volume, you can actually watch the volume knob turn. And also it has a memory on the volume knob, so if you turn it off, the volume knob goes down to 0 when you turn it on. And there is a delay. This when you first turn on, there's like about a 30-second delay, and the light will flash right here and let you know that it's warming up. And then when it's warmed up fully and ready to go, the light goes solid. I think it's green when it goes solid. And also, if you switch it into either of the tube modes, there's a delay while the tubes warm up. You can still listen to it, but the light will start flashing, letting you know that the tubes are warming up. And then once they reach their operating temperature, the unit will go off for a second and then come back on. And everything on this has like a soft start on it, where anytime you switch any inputs or digital filters or upsampling or from one tube to another or gain settings, anything you switch, it goes off for about a second and then it comes back on slowly over a couple seconds, so you don't get shocked. You don't get a big pop or a loud noise, or anything you do, it soft starts, and it's a really nice feature, and I've never seen that on any amp DAC like this, where every function on it has that soft start mode, where it just, like if you reach over and hit the gain setting, and if you go up a notch or 2 notches on the gain setting, it actually goes off for a second and then kind of gradually over a few seconds comes back on. So if it's too loud, you have a chance to reach up and, turn the volume down a little bit or whatever. So a really cool feature about this that I really like a lot. Let me get in rolling closer here and show you the unit. And there's a lot to show you on this. In fact, what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to shoot this video in 2 parts. I'll combine them into one video, but I'm actually going to shoot it in 2 parts because there's so much glare off of this. It's actually changing the light settings on my camera. So I'll try to get this in the right place. But it starts out, you've got your input selection here, which runs through your 7 digital inputs, and everything's displayed on the screen here, so you know which input you're on. Then this button here, it's actually a push button and a knob. If you push it, it switches your up converting, or it switches from either off to 512 DSD or 1024 DSD. Then below that, you've got your tube switch, which either, if it's all the way to the left, that's your full solid state mode, or the middle is a tube mode, which you basically have a tube input. It makes it a hybrid amp where you have a tube input stage and then a solid state output stage. And then Tube Plus, which is, I think, a mode where there's no feedback or some from the tubes. It actually gives you a richer, more tubey sound, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. Then you've got your display here, which shows everything. It shows what your input, what your digital input source is, and what the sampling rate is and all that. And it shows which digital filter you're using. It shows if you have upsampling or not. It shows pretty much everything. And then you've got your 3 headphone outputs here. You've got your 3.5 millimeter single-ended, 6.3 millimeter single-ended, your 4.4 millimeter balanced Pentacon headphone out. Then you've got your gain switch here, which is 3 positions of either 0, 9, or 18 decibels of gain. And then you've got your volume knob here, but which once again has a motorized Alps potentiometer, and that you can actually, with the remote, you can watch that turn itself. And then I think I forgot to point out your power on and off button here. Then on the back, oh, and I wanted to show you there's a little window on the top, which when the tubes are on, you can see the glow coming out of the window and the air vents here, or you can look in there and actually see the tubes. On the back, once again, you got a lot. You've got your balanced XLR outputs, then you've got your single-ended RCA outputs, and then this knob here, it's actually a screw. You have to use a screwdriver with it, and I think it actually comes with one to use it. And what that does is you can, by turning that, you can switch this from either a fixed output to use this as a standalone DAC, which I did quite a bit in my review, or you can switch it over to make it a preamp where you can control the outputs with your volume knob. And then it also has 2 more options, which are pro modes, which if you go into the pro mode, it raises the output up to a higher level, a higher voltage for pro equipment. Usually because pro equipment is using longer runs of cables and stuff, so I guess they use a higher voltage. Then you get into your digital inputs here, and you've got 7 of them. You've got your Ethernet connection to hook this up to the internet as a streamer. You've got your USB Type A. You've got your USB Type B. And then this one here, it looks like just your standard coax digital connection, but it's actually coax and optical both, and this comes with a little adapter that you put on the end of your optical cable to make it work through this input here. Okay, then you got your 3-pin XLR digital input. You've got your Bluetooth input here, and it does come with the Bluetooth antenna. And then you got your BNC input here, which you can use that with a coax cable. If you use, it's a little adapter. I don't think it came with it, but they're not very expensive. They're only a couple dollars, and then you can hook a coax up to this. So that way, if you want coax, you can hook it to the BNC and then use this one for optical if you want to use both. And then you've got your power input here, which is 15 volts DC. This is a jumper that you can say you're using the matched amp that goes along with this, the Pro whatever it is, but so you can use just one power supply, so you don't have to have 2 of these power supplies. You can hook it up to one and then use the jumper between the 2 and not have to buy 2 of these, $300 power supplies that way. So you can jump it. And then I'm going to be honest with you, I forgot what it's another screw, and I don't remember what it does. I'm sorry, I forgot. And this is your sync out, and I'm not sure exactly how that works either. So sorry, I guess I should have researched that a little bit, but instead I was listening and wanted to give you a solid review on the sound of this. So before I do talk about the sound, I wanted to talk about the equipment that I used in reviewing this, because I think the equipment can make a big difference. You got to match up the right equipment to get the best out of what you're reviewing. So I had 2 different sources. One was a CD transport made by Cambridge Audio, which I used the coaxial input on this. And then my other was USB through my computer, and it's a HP, fairly new HP desktop, and I've got like, I don't know, 4 or 5 dozen CDs burned onto my computer, and they're all in WAV lossless format. So, and then I use this also, I used it as a headphone amp DAC combination, and I used it as a standalone DAC also. So using it as a standalone DAC, I tried it with 3 different headphone amps, and that would be the Hi-Fi Man Prelude, the which is Hi-Fi Man's newish 10 watt per channel headphone amp, the Audio GD Master 9, which has kind of been my reference amp for like about 4 years now, and then also the Waveborn Power Amp Plus, which is a transformer coupled tube amp that I just absolutely love. And so I use this as a DAC into all 3 of those. And then the headphones, oh, there's probably more than what I have on my list here, but at the very minimum, this is the list of headphones that I used reviewing this. And like I said, I've had this thing for like 4 months now, and I've done a lot of listening on it. This has become pretty much my go-to. You know, if I go in to listen to headphones at night, like before I go to bed, and I'm not really working on a review, I'm just listening for my own enjoyment, this has been kind of my go-to amp DAC for the last few months. So, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So the headphones I've used with this, start with Hi-Fi Man. I tried the Aria Stealth and the Aria Organic that I just got in last week. The Hi-Fi Man HE1000 Stealth and the Hi-Fi Man HE1000 SE, which you can kind of see, you can catch a glimpse of it in the picture here. And that is the primary headphone that I used reviewing this, the Hi-Fi Man HE1000 SE. And that headphone and this amp just synergize so well and are just so good together. And anyone that's got a Hi-Fi Man HE1000 SE, or really any of the high-end Hi-Fi Mans, very much recommend this amp DAC, because they just synergize and match up, and they're just perfect for each other. So then also, and this is just in the last week, I got a chance to try the Hi-Fi Man Susvara with this, and the Hi-Fi Man HE6 SE, which are both extremely power-hungry headphones, and I'm really surprised how well that this actually did with those headphones. You know, being a combination headphone amp DAC, wasn't expecting it, you know, but I'll talk about that a little more in just a minute. Okay, so getting into the sound. I would describe this as kind of typical of Hi-Fi amp DACs. It's a little bit on the warm side of neutral and a little bit on the bassy side of neutral. So listening to this, you're going to get just a little bit more weight to your bass out of your headphones than you're going to get out of most other amps. But besides from that, though, the thing that really jumps out about this is just it has absolutely outstanding clarity, detail, and resolution. It's just it's up there, it's at the very top of any DACs and amps that I've reviewed, either very near the top or possibly the very top, because I don't have all the amps and DACs I've reviewed in the past here to compare directly. But from memory, I don't remember anything that I've reviewed that had better clarity and resolution than this amp DAC here. Just outstanding. It has a very large soundstage, very wide, and it has very good depth for being a Delta Sigma DAC. That's the one thing I've liked about R2R DACs, is they tend to have more depth to the soundstage, more layering, and this one is actually, it's not up there with the best R2Rs as far as depth, but it's better than any other Delta Sigma DAC that I've reviewed as far as depth to the soundstage. Just it has a lot of depth, and you can definitely hear sounds out in front of you and sounds at different distances out in front of you, like a layering effect. The separation between instruments and between the different instruments and the vocals and all that is outstanding. Just superb separation, especially like with the HE1000 SE, which is a headphone that has superb separation. But the two of those combined, there is just absolutely no overlap between the different instruments. Every instrument has its own distinct location, and like there's almost like black space in between each instrument where they don't even touch each other. You know how some headphones you can listen to them and it just sounds like everything's coming from one place. All the instruments are just coming from one place. And this with the SE1000, I just hear every instrument in its own location. They wrap all the way around from side to side. Some of them are up higher, some of them are down lower, some of them are closer, some are further away, but everything is separate and nothing touches. No mixing together at all, just superb separation. And then I wanted to talk about the power of this. Okay, it's rated at 4.2 watts per channel into 16 ohms. And 16 ohms is kind of an easy low impedance rating as far as most headphones are concerned. And something like the Hi-Fi Man HE6, I've got the SE version. I just got that in last week. That's a 50 ohm headphone. Okay, so I'm not sure what kind of wattage this is able to put out into 32 ohms or 50 ohms or whatever. But the first thing I noticed is this has absolutely no problem at all driving the Hi-Fi Man Arias, the Hi-Fi Man HE1000 Stealth, the Hi-Fi Man HE1000 SE. I didn't even need to use high gain. All those headphones, I used medium gain on this. Okay, and then headphones, I don't know if I mentioned two of the headphones I tried. The JM Audio XTC2, which is the one I have has a beryllium driver, that's 60 ohms, and it's really efficient, it's easy to drive. And then the ZMF Atrium, which is a 300 ohm headphone. Well, anyway, like the JM Audio, and I also tried a Little Grotto SR80, those you can run on low gain. But most of the even plainer headphones, I chose to run on medium gain. I didn't even need to go to high gain. There's only 3 headphones that I actually chose high gain on this. That would be the Hi-Fi Man HE400 SE, which sounds like garbage if you don't put enough power into it. The Hi-Fi Man Susvara, which is known as being one of the most power-hungry headphones in the world, and the Hi-Fi Man HE6 SE. Okay, so like I said, medium gain is all you need to use with the other planar magnetics, and that would also include like Kennerton planars and, not the real hard, but I mean, I've got 2 of the hardest to drive headphones are the Susvara and the HE6E, and I'll tell you what, this thing drives them really well. And I've got the Hi-Fi Man Prelude, which is a 10 watt per channel into 32 ohm headphone amp that is recommended by Hi-Fi Man for the Susvara. Okay, and I had this hooked up to that using this as a DAC into the Hi-Fi Man Prelude. Okay, so I compared the two. I compared the headphone output on this and to the Hi-Fi Man Prelude, and that's a $2,500 amp. That's a pretty serious amp. Okay, so at normal listening levels, I almost can't tell the difference. They sound almost exactly the same. Just exceptional clarity and detail, and that's what the Susvara needs. It needs a DAC that's capable of some serious resolution. So Anyway, at normal listening levels, this amp built into this headphone amp DAC actually does a very respectable job with the Hi-Fi Man Susvara and the HE6 SE. It's only when I try to listen at loud volumes, it starts falling a little bit short of the prelude. Okay, it's still just as clear and detailed, but if I get up to louder volumes, the prelude has a little bit more punch to the bass, and the bass is a little more dynamic. That's where this falls. It starts to fall a little bit short, but that's only at loud volumes, okay? With this on high gain, using my CD transport as an input, and it depends a little bit on the recording level of the CDs, but the average CD with this on high gain, listening to the Susvara, I'm only at 10 o'clock on the volume knob at a comfortable listening level. By the time I get to 11, it's actually quite loud, and by the time I get up to 12 o'clock on the volume knob with the Susvara or the HE6 SE, it's actually too loud for me to listen to it for more than, maybe 30 seconds. And it's only then that comparing this to the prelude, which once again is 10 watts per channel into 32 ohms, where the prelude, if I get up into 11 or 12 o'clock into loud or real loud volumes, the prelude has better control of the bass. It hits a little harder, it slams a little harder, it's a little more dynamic. But once again, at normal listening levels, I can't tell the difference, and this actually does an excellent job with both of those headphones at normal listening levels. If you want to listen to the Susvara or HE6 SE at loud volumes, then it's going to fall a little bit short of an amp like the Prelude. So tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut this video in half, shoot it in 2 parts, and I'm going to come back in a few minutes, do the other half. I'm going to take a little break here and come back with my comparisons and my conclusion, and then I'll cram the two together and make one video out of it so you don't have to wait or have to watch 2 videos. So anyway, I'll be back in a few minutes after my break. Okay, I'm back after a short break and updated my notes a little bit. So I wanted to talk about, do some comparisons, but I forgot to mention one thing. I was going to talk a little bit about the filters and upsampling, and the thing is, most DACs that I've listened to, and this may be because of my age. I mean, I'm getting up there in the years, and my hearing in the high frequencies isn't what it used to be. So anyway, a lot of DACs, and I can name Topping for one, I can't hear the difference between the digital filters, and I think the reason is because the digital filters are really only affecting the sound above like 18,000 hertz, and I know I can't hear that high anymore. I can only hear up to maybe 15,000 hertz if I'm lucky. So anyway, what I wanted to say is I can actually hear the difference in the filters with this DAC and amp. I can't say which is my favorite because I thought I had a favorite, and then I realized that it depends on the music, it depends on the recording. Some recordings sound better with one filter and some with the others, but I can hear the difference, which really surprised me because most DACs I can't hear the difference between the digital filters. And then also this upsampling thing, the DSD 512 or 1024, it actually makes a difference that I can hear. And sometimes I liked it going all the way up to the 1024 upsampling, and sometimes I liked it without it. It just depends on the recording. So it's great to have it there, and you can even change both the upsampling and the digital filters from the remote, so you can sit back and change it to whatever you want, but they do actually make a difference that even someone my age can hear. So anyway, I did want to do a few comparisons. I compared the DAC part of this to the Audio GD R8 MK2, which is an R2R DAC that goes for about $2,000, is kind of my reference. And there's no doubt about it. This DAC has a cleaner, more detailed, more focused sound than the R8. The R8 has a little, I mean, it's a great sounding DAC, don't get me wrong, but this just has a little bit sharper, more defined sound, more focused. And the one thing though, the R2R DAC, the R8 does have it, though it does have a little bit more depth and a little bit more of a three-dimensional sound. Okay, I reviewed a couple years ago the Denafrips Pontus 2, which was my favorite DAC up to this point. I'm still not sure. It's a great DAC, don't get me wrong. It's an R2R DAC and it has incredible depth. And I don't have that here to compare directly, but what from memory, or what I can do is I compared the Denafrips directly to the Audio GD R8, and I still have the R8. And at that time I noticed that the Denafrips had a slightly cleaner, more focused sound than the R8. Well, this one has a definitely sharper, cleaner, more focused sound. So I think this would even beat out the Denafrips Pontus 2 in that respect. Once again though, the Pontus 2 being an R2R DAC had a lot of depth and layering, even better than the R8. So I think the Pontus would beat this out in that respect. Okay, the topping, now I'm doing what I have here, the topping D70S MQA version, which is my favorite DAC under $1,000. I actually like it better than the topping D90ES because it has a warmer, more liquid sound. The D90 just has, it's a little bit too dry, a little bit too sterile for me. So comparing this to the topping, it beats it in pretty much every way. This beats the topping D70 in detail, resolution, clarity, depth, soundstage, everything. It's just a little bit better in every way. I mean, the topping's great, but this is just a little bit better in pretty much every respect from the topping D70. Okay, I compared this to the Hi-Fi Man Himalaya DAC. Sorry, the Hi-Fi Man Himalaya DAC. I guess I'm kind of rushing. I need to slow down a little bit. That comes in the EF400, and it once again doesn't have quite the depth, but it does have a cleaner, more detailed, more focused sound. The DAC in the Hi-Fi Man Himalaya is great, but this is just a little bit better. And then finally I compared it to my older, I've had it since 2012, the Benchmark DAC 1, which was state-of-the-art 10, 12 years ago, and rated an A by Stereophile magazine, but it's just outdated compared to this. This is just, it's cleaner, it's more detailed, it's more focused, it's this is a little warmer, better, more musicality, just has a larger sound stage. It's just the DAC one's still a great DAC, but this is just a little bit better in every way in my opinion. Okay, then I compared the amp part of this to amps. I compared it to the Audio GD Master 9 using this as the DAC running into the Master 9 to see if it gave a better sound than the built-in DAC, or the built-in amp. Okay, the Master 9 has a ton of power, a lot of weight to the music, it's punchy, but this is a little bit cleaner, a little bit more detailed, the amp in this, than the Audio GD Master 9. I compared this to the amp in this to the topping E50, which is sitting right here. Nice little $200, great DAC. I named it the best DAC under $500 this year. This has a similar clarity, but the topping E50 is similar in clarity and detail. It's very clean, but the i-Fi has a warmer, richer, more liquid sound to it. Then compared to the amp in the EF400 by Hi-Fi Man, the EF400 has more power, but this is definitely cleaner and just the Hi-Fi Man sounds a little grainy compared to the amp in this. This is just a cleaner, more detailed sound. Okay, then I hooked this up to the Waveborn Power Amp Plus, which is a transformer coupled tube amp that I love, and it did sound better through the Waveborn than through the built-in amp. I use this as the DAC, the Hi-Fi Idsd signature as the DAC into the Waveborn power amp, and it just sounded incredible. So it was a definite step up to use the Waveborn amp. That's a $2,000 amp with this as the DAC. So using this as the DAC and then hooking it up to an amp like the Waveborn, I got an even better sound. Okay, and then I mentioned it earlier, I use this as the DAC into the Hi-Fi Man Prelude, which is a new $2,500 amp from Hi-Fi Man that puts out 10 watts per channel. And yes, once again, it is the better amp. Sounded very similar in detail, resolution, clarity, but it has more power, and it can take a headphone like the Susvara further. It can take the Hi-Fi Man Susvara and just control the bass, makes it more punchy, more dynamic. And if you've got a headphone that needs a lot of power, like the Hi-Fi Man Susvara or the HE6, then you will get an improvement by using this as your DAC and hooking it up to an amp like the Hi-Fi Man Prelude. So down to my conclusion. Absolutely recommend this. This is the cleanest, most detailed, it's the best DAC I've ever heard. It doesn't have quite the depth of some of the R2R DACs like the Denafrips Pontus, but as far as just etching out every last detail, but doing it without sounding clinical, without sounding analytical, without sounding dry. It's got a nice, warm, musical sound to it, and it's the best DAC I've reviewed up to this point. And I wish I could keep this as my reference DAC, but like I said, not in my budget. This is a $3,250 DAC. So anyway, highly recommend it, especially if you're using any of the Hi-Fi Man high-end planar headphones, like the Arias or the HE1000 series. Doesn't matter which one. The Aria Stealth, the Aria Organic, HE1000 Stealth, HE1000 SE. This amp DAC was made for those headphones, in my opinion. It's just perfect synergy, perfect sound, and you won't need a better amp down the line. This amp will bring out everything the HE1000 SE has to offer. It has plenty of power. You don't even need to go to high gain. If you've got an HE1000 Stealth, HE1000 SE, this amp and DAC will bring out every last detail that headphone's capable of, and it has enough power that you're never going to need to upgrade the amp. Okay, if you've got something like the Susvara and you're doing this in steps, this would be a great DAC with an amp that is good enough for a while. This is going to bring out like 90% of what the Susvara is capable of. This has got the detail, the clarity, the resolution the Susvara needs. And if you're going to listen to it at normal listening levels, it's got enough power. It sounds the same as the Prelude does at normal listening levels. It's not, unless you want to listen at loud to very loud volumes, then the Prelude from Hi-Fi Man. I hope I didn't say Honda. I keep thinking Honda Prelude for some reason. If you want to listen to the Susvara or the HE6 at loud or very loud volumes, then yeah, an amp like the Prelude with this as the DAC is going to take it a little further, a little more slam, a little more punch, a little more dynamic bass. But I could very well live with this amp and DAC with the Susvara and, you know, maybe save up for an amp like the Prelude at another time, you know, when I could afford it. So anyway, love this DAC amp, highly recommend it. I know it's not cheap, but if you have the means, if you have a way of getting one of these, if you've got any of the high-end Hi-Fi Man headphones, I think you're going to be extremely happy. So anyway, once again, this is William from the Headphone Experience. If this video helped you, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if you haven't already. And the Headphone Experience at Facebook is up to 29.2 thousand members, and it's averaging like 40 new members per day. So growing like crazy. Join us over there, and once again, thanks for watching my video.